Hello, and welcome to the movie universe. I'm your host, Movie Fan. Today, I'll be talking about Dracula. And I don't mean any of the modern stuff. I'm talking about the classic Dracula from 1931, the very first, starring Bela Lugosi. Now, many of us are familiar with this movie because through all the remakes and all that, it's essentially the same. Count Dracula makes his way to London. He causes a whole reign of terror. He's sucking people's blood. He's killing people. And, of course, he's after Wilhelmina Harker. For this story, it actually starts in Transylvania when a real estate man is there to try to sell Dracula's castle. But what he doesn't know is that Dracula is a vampire and he has no intention of selling his castle. His only intention is to hypnotize him, bite him, and turn him into his slave so he can move to London. I know what you're thinking. Why would he want to move to London? I mean, he's got plenty of victims in Transylvania. Well, yes, that's true, but the problem is everyone's on to him. So, of course, he had to move on. Plus, I think the blood there was getting a little stale for his taste. Of course, when he goes to bite the real estate man, the camera cuts out because, believe it or not, back then they had to cut it out because the producers were worried that would give a wrong impression, if you know what I mean. The next thing you know, you see that real estate man on the boat where Dracula's sarcophagus is, and he is stark raving mad. And throughout the whole show, Dracula is presenting himself as a count, a real gentleman. He's getting to know the people, and of course, secretly, he is getting his victims here and there. But of course, he wants a new wife for London, and he finds Wilhelmina Harker very much to his liking. So he pursues her, as a gentleman, of course. But along the way, Professor Van Helsing begins to notice that he has no reflection in the mirror, and he's come to the conclusion that Dracula is indeed a real vampire. His suspicions were confirmed in no time when Dracula reveals himself to be a vampire, and he even tries to hypnotize the good professor. But the professor had a very strong will and was able to resist his hypnotic gaze. And of course, he had the cross, which Dracula despises. Professor Van Helsing tries to protect Wilhelmina, but she doesn't believe him because she thinks he's just, well, crazy. I mean, he talks about the supernatural all the time, apparently, so she had no real reason to believe him. And don't forget, this was the dawn of the 20th century. They had no reason to believe in those old wives' tale superstitions of vampires and werewolves and such. Eventually, he does capture her, and she does realize that he really is a vampire. And he's about ready to bite her when the sun comes up, so he has to duck away to his coffin. Meanwhile, Professor Van Helsing does drive a stake right through his heart, killing him. And that is the end of Count Dracula. There have been some good remakes over the years, but without a doubt, the best one is the first one from 1931, starring legendary actor Bela Lugosi. For this film, it's the suspenseful nature that really gets you the most. The suspense of Dracula as to what he's going to do. Because half the time, he's looking at you with those eyes. He's glaring at you. And, of course, you see quite a few scenes where he's getting ready to bite somebody. And it either happens or it doesn't. And that really keeps you on your toes. That's how horror movies were back then. They were designed to keep you in suspense, to keep you going, rather than be all bloody and gory like they are now. This is the stuff that movies were really made of. But of course, great suspense alone isn't enough to make a good movie. Without a doubt, the one thing that made this movie great was Bela Lugosi himself, with that dignified foreign accent of a voice he has when he says, "I'm Dracula." That's probably one of the most legendary lines you ever hear, and his voice has been copied ever since this movie first premiered. We all do it. Whenever we dress up like Dracula, we always try to imitate Bela Lugosi. With that accent, his voice, his demeanor, that suave characteristic he has. It's no wonder why he was the perfect choice for Dracula. And here's a little thing that most people don't know. Believe it or not, he was originally in the play years prior to this movie. And the director liked him so much he had to get him for the movie. This is a movie that any true blue Dracula fan must see. If you've never seen it, you really need to look this one up. Believe me, you are going to love it. This is Movie Fan, signing off.